Section 5. Dual Aspect Monism. Having restated and reconfirmed the Copenhagen consciousness as cause position, Hodgson is now ready to deal with some of the problems inherent in it, which he raised earlier. Firstly, the problem of solipsism. Hodgson had earlier worried about how a conscious mental event of one person, when collapsing a state function, could somehow reach out to the minds of other persons so as to collapse it for them too. He also raised a related problem cited by John Bell, namely, if the interaction between the mind and the rest of the world, which reduces the quantum state, occurs at an instant in time, then, for consistency with special relativity, it must also occur at a single point in space. This prohibition of faster-than-light communication by relativity makes it seem impossible that an observation by one conscious human should instantaneously collapse the state function for all humans. The answer, Hodgson states, can be found in the non-locality of quantum processes. He says, this means that, despite the theory of relativity, correlated distant potentialities can be eliminated simultaneously. This could solve both the problem of reducing quantum states for other persons and Bell's problem about simultaneous interactions at different places in the brain. This issue of faster-than-light communication at subatomic level, despite its apparent prohibition by relativity, is a crucial matter for Hodgson. As we shall see, it figures large in his own theory of consciousness. Hodgson says that the non-local character of quantum states, as shown by Bell's theorem, poses a very difficult question for science. This question was precisely formulated by Herbert in 1986. Why does nature need to deploy a faster-than-light subatomic reality to keep up merely light-speed macroscopic appearances? ? The answer provided by Hodgson is as follows. To make possible consciousness and mental events. Faster-than-light communication can also solve the problem of function collapse via photographs, as above. Hodgson imagines that, rather than a direct measurement, two photographs of the reading are taken. Suppose he suggests that both photographs are removed to distant places. The three different persons then, at a prearranged time, look at the photographs and the measuring device. These three events have space-like separation, so according to relativity, none can be considered prior in time to the others. So again, it seems implausible that any one of these three events could reduce the state function for all persons. But, argues Hodgson, the taking of photographs of the reading of a measuring device could give rise to a single, widely extended quantum state, which could in turn be reduced by space-like separated events in a way which does not involve the assigning of time order to those events. So again, faster than light communication makes it possible for all humans to experience the collapse from a single observation simultaneously. So Hodgson claims that quantum non-locality makes consciousness possible, presumably because consciousness is an essential part of nature. And indeed, the American physicist Henry Stapp expands this speculation into the claim that quantum theory is perfectly formulated to accommodate a duality of the physical and the psychological. Stapp refers to von Neumann's version of quantum theory, in which each of the quantum events in the brain has both a psychological aspect and a physical aspect. The physical aspect is the jump of the quantum state of the brain to that part of itself that is compatible with the increment in knowledge specified by its psychologically describable aspect. It is this tight linkage between the psychologically and physically described aspects of the events that keeps a person's brain in alignment with his or her experiences. These repeated reductions are both possible and needed because the indeterminacy present at the microscopic ionic level keeps generating at the macroscopic level a profusion of brain states corresponding to mutually incompatible observations. These dynamically needed interventions, whose causal origin is left unspecified by the physical theory, provide a natural vehicle for mental causation. Stapp concedes, however, that all this depends on accepting the quantum mechanical conception of nature as based on a sequence of macroscopically localized psychophysical events rather than on the notion of mindless matter. This notion of reality as a sequence of macroscopically localized psychophysical events is known in the philosophy of mind as the dual aspect theory or dual aspect monism. In this view, the mental and the physical are two aspects of or perspectives on the same substance. There's a similar theory called neutral monism. However, neutral monism allows the context to determine whether the neutral elements are mental, physical, both, or neither. By contrast, dual aspect theory requires the mental and the physical to be inseparable and mutually irreducible, though distinct. In this sense, double or dual aspect theory can be clearly contrasted with physicalism and idealism, as well as with Cartesian dualism. A well-known formulation of dual aspect monism is the so-called Pauli-Jung conjecture. The famous psychologist Carl Jung and the physicist Wolfgang Pauli speculated that the mental and physical aspects of reality may show a complementarity in a quantum physical sense. That is, the Pauli-Jung conjecture implies that with regard to mental and physical states, there may be incompatible descriptions of different parts that emerge from the whole. This stands in close analogy to quantum physics, where complementary properties cannot be determined jointly with accuracy. Paul Bernays sought to explain this by stating that two descriptions are complementary if they mutually exclude each other, yet both are necessary to describe a situation exhaustively. This could explain why, in common sense and Cartesian dualism, mental and physical phenomena are seen as completely distinct and mutually exclusive, whereas according to dual aspect monism, they are simply different aspects of a single underlying reality. Raymond Tallis remarks on the popularity and prima facie plausibility of dual aspect theory. He explains its major claim as follows. While there is only one set of events, what we see in the brain, these events have two sides, a neural side and an experiential side. But Tallis has one major and rather simplistic objection to what he calls this ploy. He asks what is meant by aspects or sides, and continues, we know what it is like for an object such as a house to have one aspect when it is looked at from behind and another aspect when it is looked at from the front. But we cannot imagine any kind of entity that has an experiential or mental front end and a neural or material back end. The difference between different aspects of a house is nothing like the difference between a material event such as a discharge of nerve impulses and a conscious event such as having the experience of yellow. What is more, the notion of two aspects of a house presupposes observers who see the house from different angles. The house does not, in and of itself, have two aspects, or indeed any aspects. To invoke double aspects is to cheat. It smuggles consciousness in to explain how it is that neural activity, which does not look like experience, actually is such experience. Tallis's objection collapses, however, if we take seriously the analogy just made between double aspect theory and quantum complementarity. The wave-particle complementarity could be objected to with the same simplistic arguments. However, its validity is asserted by the entire establishment of modern physics.